Did you have a word of the year? My word of the year has been stewardship. And this came about from me thinking about some of the conversations I was having with God about wealth and abundance and freedom and health. And I just started to feel, honestly, like a beggar. Like I was feeling like, dang, God probably like, here she go begging again. And I just didn't like that feeling. And I was like, okay, I'm not saying that that's actually how God feels, but that's what I was thinking. You know, I was starting to get a little bit insecure about what I was asking for and some of my prayers. And so then I started making my prayers more gratitude driven, which of course, I mean, they were already expressing gratitude before, but I would also sometimes ask for things. And, you know, continuing reading my Bible and stuff, I learned like it's okay to ask for things. And so I was really going back and forth like, oh my gosh, I sound like I'm begging. Okay, I'm not gonna ask for anything. Okay, I'm gonna ask, but not a lot. Like it was just this whole thing. And I was like, one day, just kind of, you know, sitting in silence, and this word came to me, like stewardship. And I don't know, it's like it all came at once. And I started to question the things I was asking for. So for instance, I would make these goals for the beginning of the year, like, oh, you know, I want to get this many more properties and this many doors, and I want to increase my net income per month to this amount so I can get closer to retiring early, and I want to have a six pack, and I want to reduce my body fat to this, and blah, 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 all this stuff, right? And that's all fine, right? But then I thought to myself, like, no, you're asking for all these things and circumstances, and you have a lot of things. You've been highly blessed, but how are you doing with what you've been given, right? And, you know, some of this may have been affected by just the different verses I was reading on my daily devotionals and things. So I feel like there's some subconscious impact there as well. But I really started to ask myself, like, what have you done with what you have, right? So you've been given this many houses, you've been given this many doors, you've been trusted with this level of education and this amount of wealth, and you know, you have health, and you are given an able body and all these things. And I just wondered, like, wait, but have I been taking care of all of those things? And so when I started to kind of audit my life and my relationships and my health and my wealth and my emotions and my mental faculties and everything, I started to see that there were gaps. And, you know, there have been things and blessings that I've been given that I have not necessarily been an excellent steward over. And I just couldn't shake this word. And so I was like, I think this is God speaking to me and saying, you are asking for things. It's okay to ask for things, but I implore you to think about how you're doing with what I've already given you, and to make sure that you are being a good steward over that before you come and ask me for more, right? And so I was like, okay. And so that kind of just became my word of the year. And the crazy thing is, it didn't come at the beginning of the year when I was looking for a word of the year. Like I feel like sometimes things just don't come exactly on your timing, but you know, it comes at the right time. So it didn't come exactly when I was trying to formulate goals and all this stuff, but I think it did come at a right time, because when it did come, I was in the headspace to think deeply about these things. And so I'm going to share a bit about what that looks like for me, what stewardship means to me, and how you may be able to apply it to your own life. So a couple of different categories, right? So first of all, let's just get the easiest one out the way, wealth. So we often ask for, you know, more money, a better job, a raise, less debt, more freedom in terms of finances, trips, win the lotto, whatever it is, right? But there is a verse, I believe it is Luke 16:10, that talks about how a person treats the little that they have and how that is a sign of how they'll treat the big of what they have, right? So if you are behaving this way with $10, you're going to behave in a similar way with $100. Same thing for 1,000, 10,000, a million, right? And so when I think about my requests for abundance and prosperity and all these things, I had to really be transparent with myself and be like, but am I even taking care of all the things that I have, right? Have I been a good steward of my money? And the first thing I can point to is just debt, right? And I'm not talking about like mortgages and student loan debt. I'm talking about consumer debt, like high interest credit card debt. If I am going to be praying every night on my knees, asking God for more money and more abundance, yet I'm over here with a balance on a 30% interest credit card, like what are we talking about here, right? Like why are you doing that, you know? And the crazy thing is like, I'll have the balance and still have the money and maybe a savings account to pay the balance, but still didn't pay the balance. Like, why am I carrying debt and asking for more, right? Why am I not better stewarding the income that I have to manage that debt, right? So that became the question. And there's this belief that more money can solve a problem of having a lack of money. And you probably heard people say like, money doesn't solve money problems. And I think that's true. I think there's some behavioral and discipline factors that are at play when it comes to money management that will not change just because you have a different amount of money. Like it's going to be the same thing with this small amount that it is with the large amount. And so we have to get some of these behaviors and beliefs and habits under control with what we have before we can be trusted with more. And so that's how it came up with me in finances. And to go even deeper, it came up in real estate too. So I'm asking for more doors, I'm asking for more property, but I got a property over here in this state that I haven't even finished rehabbing. So like, what are we saying? I got a property over here that has a hole in the roof. Like, bro, what are you saying? Like, why are you even looking to buy more property, right? Like, it actually sounds crazy when I say it out loud right now, but made total sense when I was making my requests. So that's one way that it showed up in terms of wealth, right? Now, then we get to a category like health, for instance. So I don't know, I don't talk about this a lot, but I struggle with IBS-C, right? So there's IBS-D, there's IBS-C, there's a combination. I have IBS-C, which stands for constipation. Now, this means that my stomach is very sensitive. A lot of things cause problems. And I know that, right? So I know that I shouldn't eat Brussels sprouts, for instance. Like, yeah, this is a healthy food, but it's not healthy for me, okay? It causes problems for me. I know I shouldn't eat cabbage. I know I shouldn't eat chickpeas. I love chickpeas, but I can only really eat them with a certain enzyme or under certain circumstances. And so I pretty much know like all my dietary limitations, right? I know I've been dealing with this for a very long time. I know how my body reacts. And so I have the audacity to ask for better health and for more fitness and all these things, yet I can't even do something so simple as to just not eat the things that are not good for me, right? Go out with friends. There's tons of options on the menu. Now, I'm ordering the Brussels sprouts. Like, what? Why? Why are you doing that? Like, you can't just not order them. Like, you need it that bad. Like, is it even that good? I mean, Brussels sprouts are pretty good, but still, the point is, you know it's bad for you. You know it's not good for your digestive system. You know it's going to cause problems, but you're going to do it anyway. That's not good stewardship over your body, over your health. And when I say your, I'm talking, of course, to me, but it's just like, you know that this is not good for you. It's like, why are you even gonna do that? You know, and in the same breath, you have the audacity to ask for better health when you aren't even doing what needs to be done to take care of your health. Like, it's actually crazy. And so it will be things like that. Or even, you know, talking about goals for body fat and, you know, all this like muscular definition and all this stuff. But are you going to be consistent in the gym though? Like, can you drink the amount of water that you know you need to drink? Basic things, right? And so the stewardship manifested for me in the area of health is, I have the knowledge about what is good for my body, so let me implement that information and do it consistently before I ask for something else, right? Because it's one thing to not know, but to know and still not do the right thing is crazy, right? So talked about health, comes up in relationships too. So years ago, this was in, I think, 2022, I was really looking for a new friend group. Not that I wanted to get rid of my old friends. It's just that I needed some friends that I could talk to about money and entrepreneurship and business without feeling awkward or uncomfortable or like I was making other people feel uncomfortable. So I just needed an additional group of friends to have those conversations with. So, you know, I was praying for these relationships, praying to be in rooms with these people. But was I being a good friend to the friends that I had? I don't know. This one I actually don't know. Maybe I was. But it's just asking yourself those types of questions, you know, before you start to request a new thing, a new circumstance. Think about and evaluate how you're actually treating the things in that area that you already have, right? And that is what stewardship is about for me, okay? So this whole year has been focused on being better in the areas that I'm asking for more in. So if I'm asking for better health, it's okay, what can I do? What is within my control to better my health before I start, you know, getting on my knees and begging God to help me out, right? And that doesn't mean I stopped asking, okay? So I still pray and I still make requests, but I think at the same time, I need to do my part, right? With what I have. And so drinking less, like I'm not huge on alcohol anyway, but there are definitely times where alcohol was available and I could have easily just not had it, but I had it anyway, you know? So even those kinds of circumstances, making a conscious decision to choose my health over other options. And then we already talked about like the Brussels sprout situation. So we go out to restaurants now. I don't order Brussels sprouts, okay? Like I know it's not good for me. I want it, but I'm not gonna do that, okay? I have self-control. You know, I don't remember what scripture it was, but you know, he said, I gave you the power of love, sound mind, and self-control, or something like that, okay? So I was like, look, I have this power within me. I can control myself. I do not need to have this. Moving on, right? With properties, you know, I decided to get it together. And that state that I was talking about, where I didn't finish the rehab, you know, I was like, you know what, I need to get in here, get this done. You know, I was partly avoiding it because it was like slightly stressful and just very annoying dealing with the contractor that I was dealing with. But interestingly enough, as soon as I made the decision to be a better steward over that asset, that problem disappeared. I mean, like actually quite literally disappeared. Like the contractor disappeared. So, hey, look, everything started to move in my favor. So also started working on the other one and started trying to come up with a resolution on the property that had the hole in the roof, and you know, paying attention to these blessings and assets and making sure that I'm taking good care of them before I move on to something else. And even just the properties that I had that were rolling and going well, evaluating those and looking at the numbers and being like, look, is this serving its purpose? Like, I acquired this for this reason. Is it meeting that goal? And if it's not, what changes can I make to help it reach that goal? And if I make those changes, it's still not working, it's got to go. I mean, it's as simple as that. And that is stewardship, right? That is making sure that what I have is being best leveraged for what its purpose was for, right? Making sure that I'm optimizing the blessings and assets that I have before I move on to something else. So I would implore you to think about that. And, before you go and you claim spiritual warfare, and before you say that, you ain't getting what you asked for and all these things, just think about all the things that you already have. Like, even just the ability to move. I think about that a lot. Like, I have my legs. There's people that don't have legs. And I think about this specifically because my paternal grandmother used to walk everywhere, and she had to get a leg amputation because of diabetes. And, when she went in for that amputation, she actually died during the anesthesia part before the amputation even occurred, And so I always think about her and think about like her stewardship over her body, knowing that walking places was so important to her, but not being a good steward enough to keep her diabetes under control so that she can continue to use her legs. Like, I don't know why that way hits home for me so much, but I'm just so grateful for my limbs, like my arms, my legs, like my ability to just move, like I don't complain when there's no parking close to the front of the store. I'm like, look, my legs work. So I could park at the end of the parking lot and I'm gonna be good. Okay. So just little things like that. And I mean, it's not little, but you know what I mean? Like the things that we take for granted that we don't think about. I do my best to try to bring those to light and have a spirit of gratitude and make sure that I'm treating those things with respect and with due diligence and just maintaining them in the best way that I can. So I would encourage you to do the same, have a spirit of gratitude, think about what you already have, and just be a better steward over what you have before you start to prioritize moving on to something else or asking for something else in that same area. So thanks for listening.